We're facing a world in crisis. Climate, global inequality, social cohesion, many more. B-CCaS is focused on changing the world.
B-CCaS is an academic centre within the business school in the University of Edinburgh, but it also reaches beyond the business school to bring in colleagues from geosciences and engineering and other schools.
B-CCaS is about giving academics the opportunity to use their research, their insight and their influence to address those crises.
One of the key areas of our work is looking at how we provide the skills and the education to tackle climate change.
B-CCaS is interesting because it sits at the intersection of research, industry and education.
We're looking at how business interacts with policymakers, with communities, large and small institutions globally.
The interesting thing about the biggest challenges we face in society is that we can't solve them by just looking at them from a single discipline lens. We need to take multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary approaches to addressing them, and that's where B-CCaS comes in.
B-CCaS is a catalyzer. It's definitely more than the sum of the different components, and by components I mean the different members of the B-CCaS. It's actually facilitating collaborative environments.
The holy grail always, particularly in a university, but I guess anywhere, is getting people together and making it greater than the sum of its parts. And that's one of the things B-CCaS does. So you come up with an answer which works in terms of tackling climate change, but it works in terms of economics and money. It works crucially in terms of people, their livelihoods, what's acceptable, what their cultural context is.
Traditionally, business schools have often taught about how business behaves, how it acts and what's important to business. And as we look at things like the climate crisis, on the cost of living crisis, on global inequalities, we understand that business needs to be different, it needs to be better. And business schools, and in particular my centre, are focused on how business can do that.
B-CCaS is promoting a transition towards a low carbon economy in 3 different ways. Educating future generations, research and engagement.
At the business school we've been researching and teaching climate change for almost 15 years now, so actually we're one of the leaders in this. We have undergraduate, postgraduate, MBA and PhD programs. And additionally we do a lot of work with executives, so executive education. When we say climate change, we don't just mean what's happening to the climate itself, but we need the impacts on society. If our research doesn't have any impact, if it doesn't change anything, it hasn't been good enough research in the first place.
We'd like to see our research increasingly start driving policy when it comes to climate change.
The impacts of B-CCaS, it can cover a whole range of things. So in tangible terms, it might mean that a piece of research is picked up and used by a government to inform their policy making. It might be used to inform the development of international standards for things like greenhouse gas accounting. And ultimately what we're aiming for is change in the real economy or in real people's lives. So it's not just about presenting research in conferences or even just teaching the research that we do. It's that endpoint impact is changing things in the real world.
So doing this kind of work is really fulfilling because you can begin to see how change can occur, how organisations can be change makers, and how through the research that we do we can really help to educate and empower organisations to make those changes.
So the impact of the research that we do is actually feeding directly into European legislation. Currently I have the privilege to serve in the European Commission's Platform on Sustainable Finance as only one of the 2 finance academics. The real world impact is to be seen when these policies will take into place, and we'll see what companies end up doing. So a lot of the impact will be done by the real economy, by the companies themselves or investors.
Any research centres within universities are only as good as the commitment of the people who are part of those research centres. The people who are part of B-CCaS are passionate, committed to affecting change. within the community, and in particular the business community.
Within B-CCaS, I feel there's a very strong sense of mission, and that mission is about really building on what each of us can produce individually to have an impact in broader society.
It says something quite special about the leadership within B-CCaS and the approach that our academics and our professional services staff have. There's a real sense of hope and optimism, and I think that's what is really attractive for lots of people.
There is a strong sense of mission. I think all of us working within this field see climate change as a major or the major challenge facing humanity.
For me, I take the climate emergency really personally. It's been my whole professional career, but actually it's all of our lives. You know, it's our families' lives, you know, it's people we've never met and will never meet whose lives will be potentially devastated by climate change. So I take it really personally.
At the back of our minds, we all want to leave the planet in a better place for the next generation. If we're not here to make things better, what are we here for?
I believe B-CCaS has a huge potential to be impactful, and it's already impactful when it comes to the intersection of business and climate change.
The success for B-CCaS is facilitating a low carbon transition across different dimensions: societal transition, economical transition or transformation, and business transformation.
B-CCaS has very strong potential as a platform to help those researchers that again are working to try to affect change.
Well, it is a very exciting future. It's sometimes frustrating that progress doesn't happen as quickly as we'd like, but that, I guess, is part of our role to try to speed up this transition that we need.
I'm really proud of B-CCaS. I'm proud of being part of a business school who wants to have B-CCaS as a key part of their agenda, and not all business schools do. I'm proud of being part of a university that is so intent on combining different expertise.
There is a sense of pride and mission in what we do, because we're trying to see how we could address the biggest challenge we've faced, and that is climate change.
To shape change and to shape positive change. And there is, of course, a big sense of pride and purpose in that.
I get a huge amount of personal fulfillment and pride from the work that we do. Engaging with organisations, working to help meet the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, teaching students, talking to students about how our disciplines can actually have an impact on global challenges. It's hugely fulfilling and something that brings me pride every day.
Interest in our centre has exploded as the sustainability issues have become front and centre. Whether you're a student, undergraduate, postgraduate or PhD, whether you're an organisation looking to work with someone or an academic looking for a home for your sustainability or climate change research, B-CCaS is always open to bringing more key people in to having more impact.